I still remember the way the air smelled that morning. Stale coffee, burned printer toner, and that faint chemical tang from the carpet cleaner they used every Friday. It should have been an ordinary day, but I wasn't there for another meeting, another deadline, or another forced birthday cake in the break room. I came to resign. After 8 years of giving everything to that place, my weekends, my sleep, even my peace of mind, I was finally done. I rehearsed what I'd say a dozen times on the train. I thought I'd feel proud, empowered, maybe. But as I walked past the familiar sea of cubicles, I just felt tired. When I knocked on his office door, my boss barely looked up. He just gestured toward the chair like I was a nuisance. Another interruption. Typical. I'm resigning, I said. Just like that. No preamble. No apology. He blinked. Then he leaned back in his overpriced ergonomic chair, arms behind his head, and laughed. Loud, cruel, mocking. You? He scoffed. You think anyone out there's waiting for you? You'll be back. They always come back. Let me guess, you're burned out? Or someone told you you're better than you are? I didn't say a word. I didn't flinch. I just nodded once and stood. My hands were steady, though my chest burned like someone had shoved hot coals inside it. I turned to leave, but before I walked out of that office, I reached into my bag, pulled out a single white envelope, and placed it carefully on the edge of his desk. He didn't even glance at it. He was still chuckling to himself, already pulling up my HR file. He didn't know that envelope would change everything, that it wasn't just a resignation. It was a reckoning, because while he spent years talking over me, I had spent years listening, watching, writing. And now, I had something to say. I wrote the letter over months, maybe even years, without knowing I was writing it. Every time I swallowed an insult, every time my ideas were stolen in meetings and applauded when repeated by someone else, every time I watched a more qualified woman get passed over for a promotion, a piece of that letter came to life. It wasn't bitter. It wasn't angry. That would have been too easy. No. This letter was careful, clean, surgical. It started with a thank you for teaching me what leadership should never look like, for showing me the anatomy of arrogance. Then it moved to truth, quiet truths, ugly truths, the kind no one says aloud in glass offices and fluorescent-lit boardrooms. How fear had become policy, how favoritism was dressed up as merit, how talented people left in droves while sycophants got corner offices. I wrote about the intern who cried in the stairwell after being humiliated in a meeting, about the single dad who was denied parental leave but watched the VP take 2 months off for a meditation retreat, about the designer whose ideas were stolen 3 times before she left without saying goodbye. It wasn't just about me. It never was. But I made sure to tell my story, to how I stopped sleeping through the night, how I'd wake up already dreading the sound of Outlook notifications, how I began to question my own worth in rooms full of people who never learned my name. Writing it didn't feel like vengeance. It felt like breathing. The letter ended with a line I still remember. Power built on silence is never safe for long. I printed 3 copies, one for his desk, one for HR, and one, sealed in a blue envelope, taped to the break room bulletin board right above the fake motivational poster that said, "We're all in this together." I didn't slam a door on the way out. I didn't make a scene. I just walked away, lighter than I'd felt in years. And as I stepped into the sunlight outside, I knew I hadn't just quit a job. I had told the truth, and now it would speak for itself. He read the letter alone, just as I intended. The laugh he gave me had vanished by the time he reached the second paragraph. It wasn't a rant. That's what disarmed him. It was composed, precise, true. Line after line. His confidence cracked. The stories weren't exaggerated, they were documented, echoing the whispered conversations he'd ignored for years. I hadn't cursed him. I had mirrored him. And what stared back from that page was a man built on fear, denial, and power no one respected anymore. At first, he tried to spin it. I heard later that he told upper management it was just a disgruntled former employee lashing out. But something had shifted, and it wasn't just about me. The copy I left in the break room, that was the match. People gathered round it like it was a campfire, nodding, whispering, then talking. By Monday, my inbox was full, coworkers past and present thanking me, some sharing their own stories. One wrote, "You said what I never dared to." Another simply said, "I feel less alone now." By Friday, HR scheduled anonymous listening sessions, Unprecedented. My former team leader resigned. A quiet one. Good guy. Probably stayed too long trying to fix things from inside. And him? The boss. He started closing his glass office blinds. For the first time in years, no one feared him. They saw him. Just a man at a desk, shrinking. I never went back. Never needed to. But sometimes I hear updates. How the culture's changing. How the fear is thinning. How that letter, the one he laughed over, is still talked about in whispers and in meetings. I didn't write it for revenge. I wrote it because I knew one thing. Truth doesn't need to yell. It just needs to be heard.